Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's School Spotlight live stream. I'm going to wait a few seconds to see if anybody else joins us today. For those of you who do join us live, remember you can ask questions in the comment section, and at the end, we will get to as many of those questions as we possibly can. Also, please note that this session will be recorded, so if you need to leave at any time, you will be able to come back and watch this later. So again, feel free to submit any questions you may have in the comments section. But I'm very excited for today's School Spotlight because we are with Lizzie from the New York Film Academy. Hi, Lizzie.
Everyone. Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
You have such cool programs. I've been really excited for this webinar. I think everybody's going to find this super interesting.
I think so too.
Cool. All right. So I know you had a video you wanted to share. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up before we get started so everyone can see what NYFA is all about.
Short and sweet.
So cool. So cool. So those are the kinds of things I'm assuming students can expect to do if they study at New York Film Academy.
One of multiple things that they will do at the New York Film Academy. Absolutely.
That is awesome. Cool. Well, obviously, for those of you who are watching this webinar, you've learned by now, if not by the name of the school, but that New York Film Academy is a school that's very focused on film and the arts and acting and all of that good stuff that goes into making all of this content that we love to consume in all these movies we love to watch. So before we get into the programs, I mean, I definitely want to spend some time talking about the different areas of study for students. But I think something that's super unique about New York Film Academy is that you're not only in New York. So can you explain a little bit about where you have different campuses, where students can study?
Sure. Yeah, it gets a little confusing sometimes, but we are the New York Film Academy. We were founded in New York City in 1992 by a gentleman named Jerry Sherlock. And he started as just an 8-week filmmaking workshop because he was a producer in Hollywood. He produced The Hunt for Red October with Sean Connery and Alec Baldwin. And when he came back to New York City, there were so many people like, how do I learn this? And I'm really interested, but a film education back in the early 90s was a very prestigious thing. So he started the 8-week filmmaking workshop in New York City, and it became extremely popular. So we extended into the conservatory programs in New York. But we now have campuses in New York City, Los Angeles, South Beach, Miami, Florida, Florence, Italy, and the Gold Coast of Australia. So we've really expanded our reach for students to go anywhere they want, and really learning filmmaking and the arts in each one of those cities is a very distinct thing for each city. And that's what's pretty cool about it.
That's awesome. So when students choose their program, they do the full program in that location, correct?
They actually, if depending on the program, I will say, because each program is a little bit different, they have the option of starting their program in New York City if they wanted to, and then they could transfer out to Los Angeles and have what we call a bi-coastal experience. So New York obviously is a little bit more of an independent film vibe. You're shooting on the streets of New York City. And then in Los Angeles, it's Hollywood. You don't really get bigger than that. But we get to shoot on the backlot of Universal Studios in LA, and we're the only film school in the world that gets to do so. So it's pretty exciting for students to get to really understand what it's like to shoot on location as well as on a backlot, because it can be a very different vibe.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I mean, those are two totally different setups. I'm sure you have to, there's a whole different strategy behind coordinating the crew and, you know, setting up the scene, the lighting, all of that kind of stuff. That's so awesome. Different. Yeah, that's a really good opportunity.
Yeah.
And for our viewers, I went and visited the New York Film Academy campus in New York, and it was so cool. So Lizzie, tell me, like, is that the same setup for all the different locations? Like for the students who haven't been able to visit you, explain kind of what the vibe is when you're studying, when you're on campus.
Sure. So the thing that I will say the most is that it is like electrically creative because every single person who's at the New York Film Academy has the exact same passion for visual and performing arts. That's all we do. We do not have, you know, like a math section and a science section and history. All we do is visual and performing arts. So everyone has just like massive creativity that they're sharing with each other. And all of the campuses are set up somewhat the same, like the decor is the same. But in New York City, we are located at the very southern tip of Manhattan. We overlook the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island. And we have 3 stories of a building in New York City. And that's our headquarters, obviously. Students, like I said, will shoot on the streets of New York. Los Angeles is actually our largest campus. And we have 3 buildings within Burbank, which is right across from Universal Studios. And we see the Warner Brothers water tower from classrooms. So there's 3 buildings there. The South Beach campus is the smallest campus in the US, but still has the exact same vibe as all of the rest of the campuses. But when you go to Florence, it is New York Film Academy, but you are obviously in a very old building, historic, beautiful, absolutely beautiful, that has been renovated to fit New York Film Academy specifically. And then in the Gold Coast of Australia, all brand new state of the art, and we get to shoot on Village Roadshow backlot in so
that's cool.
Very exciting. Always the question I get more than anything is, which is better?
That's what I was just going to ask. Like, which do you prefer?
Which do you prefer? It's a very personal decision. That's what I'll say. I will say the curriculum is the same at all locations. The caliber of teachers is the same at all locations. Sorry, but it's really the vibe of where you are. I'm a New Yorker. I think New York City is the best city in the world. Most people don't feel that way. But it's really like, you know, you're going to be learning the same in each location, but it's where you're going to be learning. If you're interested in being in the heart of Hollywood and right where all the film happens, LA would probably be for you. We do have a lot of students that choose Los Angeles mostly because of the weather.
Right.
Whereas in New York, I mean, at any given time, when it's not COVID, we have between 45 and 50 movies and television shows being shot at any given time. So it certainly isn't a small industry there.
Right.
But, you know, they're 2 very different cities, and it's where you should feel comfortable. Like I said, I'm a New Yorker. My brother lives in Los Angeles. He loves Los Angeles, and we kind of like clash a little bit. So
no, I remember when I was having the meeting with you in your office in New York, I had been to New York before, but never in New York City. Like that was a first for me being in the city. And I remember and I remember during the meeting, like totally not paying attention at one point because I was just looking out the window and like, Statue of Liberty. Oh my gosh, I'm seeing the Statue of Liberty right now.
It's so cool. It's the most beautiful view. I love it. And we do have virtual tours for the New York and Los Angeles campuses that students can view anytime. So
cool. Awesome.
A little bit of an idea.
That's awesome. And then as far as, I mean, I know since you guys are not a traditional university or anything like that, you know, the setup's different and your structure is different. But what are some of the things that students can get involved in, you know, while they're in the campus? Like, do you have clubs, organizations? Like, what sorts of things are going on for students?
Sure. So I'll start by saying that every program that's at New York Film Academy is extremely intensive. So plan on being in class 35 to 40 hours a week and then shooting on nights and weekends. You know, it's not a traditional university where you go and you have 1 or 2 classes a day and then you can kind of hang out. We are putting you to work. That's what you came here to do. And it's our job really to train you in the New York Film Academy to walk out onto a film set, to be prepared, be professional. And that's what it's like in this industry. There is no 9 to 5 job.
Right.
You'll be on camp. You'll be on set 12 to 14 hours a day. And so we want to prepare you for that. That being said, for those of you who are ambitious and want to do everything, at the Los Angeles campus, we do have sports clubs. So there's soccer, volleyball, basketball, and fencing. There's clubs at all of the campuses. Students have started their own clubs. So there's a Black American club. There's an Indian club. There's filmmaking, female filmmaking clubs. You know, there's clubs of all sorts. So because New York Film Academy is so international, we're about 50% international. We just counted a couple of weeks ago, and we've had a total of 160 different nationalities.
Oh, wow.
At New York Film Academy. So there's something for everyone. And if there's not the exact thing that they want, you certainly can start it, and we'll help you with that whole process. But the whole idea of New York Film Academy is getting your story told, and stories from all over the world are always going to be very different. And so that's what's, I think, is the coolest part of New York Film Academy, is that, yes, you're getting a film education, but you're also getting a very cultural education as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's a good point too. I know some students, when they're looking, they're considering their different options about where they might want to study. And if they want a more traditional experience of, you know, being on campus, having clubs and sports and that kind of thing, you know, if you are a student who's interested in pursuing, you know, filmmaking or something like that, you need to think about what's most important. Is your goal to have fun during these 4 years while you're in college and, you know, join a fraternity or a sorority? Like, is that your goal, or is your goal to be trained to go out in the workplace?
Exactly.
So it's really good to identify where New York Film Academy fits in. And this is definitely a hands-on interactive program where you're, you know, jumping right in and getting active and practicing and learning your trade, which I think is incredible.
100%. I mean, you have your hands on a camera, or you're in front of the camera from day one. You know, our filmmaking students within their first year will write, shoot, direct, and edit 8 of their own films and crew on 28 others. So you're not just being a director, you're working each job that's on a film set, whether it's a gaffer or an AD or a boom operator, because chances are that when you graduate, you're not going to be a director right away.
Right. Yeah, you have to work your way up. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're teaching you each job, but you are graduating with a reel that will be bigger than pretty much every other film school in the world.
That's incredible. Yeah, that's awesome. So again, students, think about that. You know, yeah, this is an intensive program, but you're graduating, you're completing with all of this content for your portfolio and all this proof that you know what you're doing and you've learned how to cover all these positions. Like, just think about how job ready that'll make you. You know, again, as Lizzie said, chances are you're not going to be a director right off the bat, but you might, you know, that might help you get your foot in the door to work as crew on some film that's being made. You know, this is just incredible opportunity here for that real world experience and just getting your resume bumped up above other people who are competing for the same position.
Absolutely. It's worth noting too that at New York Film Academy, you are using state-of-the-art, top-of-the-line equipment. So you're literally using the equipment that's being shot on in Hollywood right now. And between all of our campuses in the US, New York Film Academy has the largest inventory of equipment in the United States. So
oh, wow.
You're not going to be wanting for anything. You do pay an equipment fee, so it's yours to use once you learn how to use it. But that's the game. That's how you know, you need to know how everything works when you are able to get a job.
That's awesome. Now tell me a little bit more about the programs, because I know there are, you know, different durations. There are, you know, traditional bachelor's or master's degrees, and there are shorter term programs. Like, walk us through what's available.
Sure. So, so New York Film Academy does offer traditional degrees. We have associate's, bachelor's, and master's degrees. Our bachelor's programs are actually an accelerated 3-year program. So you study full-time year-round for 3 years, which means you have 1 year less of tuition and fees, but you also get to get into the workforce a little bit quicker. So we do offer full degree programs at all of our US locations. And then we do also offer 1- and 2-year conservatory programs. Conservatory programs are very popular within the arts community because they are hyper-focused programs on just one subject. So you're learning just filmmaking or just acting or just producing. You don't have all those liberal arts classes that you would have that are part of a degree program, the math, the science, the history. But with New York Film Academy, our degree programs do what's called a reverse curriculum. So
explain that.
At most schools, you will have about 70% liberal arts, math, science, history, psychology, and then 30% of whatever your major is.
Mm-hmm.
At New York Film Academy, we flip that. So you're doing 70% your major and then 30% liberal arts classes. And the liberal arts classes are formed as much as we can around the arts. So it's like history of filmmaking, psychology of acting.
Okay.
So the degree programs, you graduate with a degree, you do have those liberal arts classes. The conservatory programs are just focused solely on one subject, and you will graduate with a certificate of completion. We do also have short-term adult workshops that are 4, 6, and 8 weeks where students will come sort of test the waters and see if this is something that really is for them. And then if they like it, they can extend into the longer program. And if they do that, we will take the cost of the short-term workshop off of the tuition for the long-term.
Okay.
And essentially get that short-term workshop for free. And it's a good way, especially if students don't have the time or the money to come and spend years to study this. The 4-week, 8-week acting, filmmaking, producing, whatever it may be, is still extremely intensive. And we've had students become very successful by just taking those programs.
Yeah. And I know, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you are a little bit younger, you're still in high school or middle school, we do have teen and kids summer programs that are both online and on campus. And then for the adult programs, we do also have online programs now as well. Thank you to COVID.
I know, we're all getting very used to these online activities.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness. The new normal, that's what they're saying.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. So what would you say are some of your top programs? Like is there one program in particular that most international students tend to opt for? Yes. Or is it, okay.
Filmmaking is always going to be the number one because filmmaking is so all-inclusive. You have, writing, shooting, directing, editing, cinematography, sound. You learn everything within the filmmaking program. Acting is also extremely popular. We focus very strictly on acting for film. We were the first of its kind in the United States to focus solely on film acting instead of stage acting. But the up-and-coming programs really are 3D animation and game design, because everyone really is now going towards working on a computer and getting film shot like that. And it's very rare to see a film these days that does not have visual effects in it. No one, I think, is ever going to stop playing video games. So
that's true.
Those are the two most up-and-coming programs we have, but I do think filmmaking will most likely always be the most popular.
Yeah. And that's something I feel like is always going to be in demand as well. Like that's something I don't think is going to go away anytime soon, even with COVID. I know film crews have, kept going. It hasn't stopped. It maybe slowed down a little bit, but hasn't stopped for sure. So
it's been very interesting in COVID, because what have we all been doing for the last 9 months other than sitting and watching Netflix and Hulu and all of that? So I think people are starting to understand that this really, this is a major part of our society. And now that we do have Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and regular cable, there's so many more platforms for students to be able to get their work out there, to get jobs at. So it's exploding right now. So I will thank COVID for that, but that's something I'll thank it for.
Right. And I was looking at some of this information beforehand. I know you've had some notable people in the film industry who have been involved in New York Film Academy some way, or have had, their families study there, or their alumni themselves. So tell us about some of these famous A-listers.
Yeah, so New York Film Academy, we are still somewhat a young school, but we have already had students who have graduated and become very, very popular. Bill Hader pretty sure everyone knows him.
Really? Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Later, Aubrey Plaza got her start in Parks and Recreation, but now has gotten huge into films. Issa Rae, everyone knows Insecure on HBO. But then we have a number of massive international students that have come here to study, and then they move back to their home country and they really start to make waves in their home country. So we have a Kazakh student who is now shooting music videos for like Diplo and all those young rappers.
Oh, wow.
I know. I don't know. Awesome. But so we do have a lot of notable alumni, but we've also been very honored to have guest speakers come and speak to New York Film Academy and their students. So we have a full guest speaker series where we have people come in. They may do a showing of some kind, and then they open it up to Q&A. So Steven Spielberg, Alec Baldwin was just with us like 2 months ago, I think, but it was in the virtual sphere, so that was cool. And Alec Baldwin has a history with New York Film Academy because he was in Hunt for Red October, which our founder produced. Al Pacino has come to visit us. We had Kim Cattrall from Sex and the City at the New York campus, which as a 30-something New Yorker woman was a very big deal.
I bet.
Yeah, Adam Driver was at the campus a little bit ago, Ron Howard. So it's, you know, it's very special that these students get to go and be able to ask these questions to people who have literally been where they've been before, and they've been studying and they know now how to get into the industry. So they are able to ask those questions and really understand how that's happened. But then even with our teen summer programs, we've had a large notable Hollywood, you know, people send their kids to our teen programs. Idris Elba's daughter came last year. Martin Scorsese's daughter has come, I think, for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Julie Pacino, Al Pacino's daughter came, you know, so you have these huge Hollywood heavy hitters that can send their kids anywhere. And they have Film Academy precisely because of how intensive and how hands-on we are. And that really, you know, it means the world to us, and we love being able to have them there. And it's really cool to see the kids grow. And like, I don't know, I get very emotional when I start talking about this, because the kids have so much passion for this, and for them to be able to get there and have their dreams come true and start shooting, it's really a pretty cool thing.
That is incredible. And just seeing their potential and seeing them learn how to develop that potential into something that's tangible and something that is really could be their future. And, you know, people, I know one thing I hear a lot from some of my students who are interested in going into film programs or any kind of creative program really is a lot of times there's hesitation from the parents. 100%. And, you know, how likely is it that they'll be successful? And yeah, you know, it's a competitive industry for sure, but that's exactly why you need to choose a program that's going to give you the best opportunity to really become successful. And I think New York Film Academy is definitely one of these places where, you know, parents, if you're watching this is definitely the type of institution where you can feel confident that your child is going to have infinite opportunities to get their name out there and get their creativity out there.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, you always hear that networking is the most important part of this industry, and which is true. So, you know, students are being taught by teachers who are still working within the industry, have been working within the industry for many, many years and decades. Some of them. You know, they get to network with all of the teachers, but also with the people who they're studying with and alumni. Because, you know, it used to be you had to go to Los Angeles to make a film. That's where you had to go. There was 3 or 4 major houses that you could shoot at. And that's why I think parents sometimes have a hard time understanding that this is a viable career option, because it really did used to be that way. It was very difficult to get into one of those major studios. But now I could shoot a film right this minute if I wanted to. And, you know, HBO really blew up the whole game with international shooting, where you can go to Iceland and Brazil and Japan and Russia. And we have students from all of those countries. So you will be able to network not only in the United States, all over the world. And especially with South Korea winning the Oscar for Best Film, that has blown up international entertainment. And I think that is most certainly the way that it's going. We always were the heavy hitters. We always were where you go to make movies, but you can make movies anywhere now. And
Mm-hmm.
to know precisely the correct way to do it and how to really get your films seen is very important. New York Film
Right.
Academy, yes, you're shooting all of this and you're acting, but you have business classes as well. We're teaching you how to get into festivals and how to get an agent and, you know, how to get funding and all of that. So you have a business proponent as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, you're not just coming out and being an artist, you're
Right.
coming out and being a business person.
Mm-hmm. And that's incredibly useful because, just thinking about the value of, okay, is it worth it to just pursue this as a hobby, or is it worth it to go full force in pursuing this career path in my education or whatever it may be? And that's a very valid point that you're making. One of the key value points with studying at New York Film Academy is the fact that you are going to learn all of those kind of business pieces that are behind the scenes, and those are things that you won't have to figure out on your own. That kind of just makes it, especially in an industry that can be competitive, don't you want every possible thing working in your favor to give you a leg up? So that's, I mean, anyone can post something on YouTube or anyone can post something on Facebook, but to actually know how to properly get to the masses and create something that's high quality that people not only are interested in seeing, but enjoy watching, something that's visually pleasing. Like, you have to know how to get there, and those things cost money typically, and you have to know how to get that money.
Not as
So
easy
that's awesome.
as you think.
Yeah. That's awesome. Now, tell me a little bit about, I know you mentioned these programs are super intensive, so it's probably not very likely that students will have a lot of time for like a part-time job, but are there internship opportunities, work opportunities, anything like that?
Yep. So for international students, unfortunately, they cannot hold a paying job while they're studying at New York Film Academy because they are studying on an F1 student visa. However, we do have unpaid internships that students are placed into throughout their duration of study, especially in the producing program. But after students have graduated, we do have career counselors that are on campus that are helping students to find a job, and you have 1 year of optional practical training, or OPT, where you can stay in the United States and legally work within the industry and really start to gain experience and start to build your CV so that you can then go home to your home country and really start to build the entertainment industry there. But we've had students who have interned at Lionsgate, at Nickelodeon, at Netflix, at Hulu. So, you're working with the biggest companies in the industry, learning how everything works within that system, and then being able to take it home to your home country. And that's what's really starting to, expand. The only issue right now with international shooting is there's so many countries that are giving tax breaks and that are so much more beautiful in so many more aspects. So everyone wants to go shoot there. The issue is that there aren't enough people who live in those countries who know how a film set works.
Okay.
So being able to get, a world-class education in the United States where, film education was founded essentially, and take it home to your home country, you can start a very massive production house just by having that as your background. I was in Vietnam a couple of years ago, and the head of HBO Asia was there scouting, and we ended up speaking, and that was his thing. He's like, everyone wants to shoot here, but there's, it's so expensive to fly that many people over. So having more people on the ground in these countries that know what they're doing, you're going to be a sought after, commodity. So
wow.
that's pretty cool.
Well, that's really encouraging, I think, for anyone who maybe had reservations about that, how likely, am I going to have to plan to live in the US or Canada or wherever after this, or is this something that I can carry into my country?
Expand everything. Yeah. Like I said, everyone's background is so much different. And, my background growing up in a tiny little town in Colorado is a very different background from someone who grew up in Moscow or someone in Brazil. And so bringing all of that knowledge together, and, you're going to create stories that are phenomenal.
Oh, so cool. So inspiring. I mean, it's really exciting to think that the future entertainers and like the future creators are studying at your school. And
all
for
the
students,
time.
I mean, you could be the next big thing or one of the next
Exactly.
big things that I don't know. It's just an incredible opportunity and it's
Yeah, it's
really cool
really
to
fun.
see.
It makes me love my job even more. So
I can imagine for you, it must be so rewarding to see students come in, at the very beginning of their careers and then seeing, what they do afterwards is
yeah,
so cool.
they can thank me in their Academy Award speeches.
Exactly. You'll get a shout out. I'd like to thank Lizzie Sack for giving me this wonderful opportunity.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. So now we're about to wrap up our conversation today. So for our viewers, again, if you have any questions for Lizzie, feel free to submit them in the comments section. And in a few minutes, we'll get to those. While we're waiting for any questions to roll in, let's talk about requirements. What do students need to show to be considered for your programs? Like, do they need a portfolio? Is there an audition? What do they have to do?
So, it's very dependent on the length of program, but the thing that we are always going to be looking at the most heavily is either your portfolio or your audition. So if you're looking to come for musical theater or acting for film, you will audition with the New York Film Academy. You can record those and send them in, or you can do a live virtual audition with us. We've been doing that quite often now. And then when we are able to finally travel again, we will be holding live auditions as well. But there's multiple ways in which you can submit an audition. If you're looking to come for a visual arts program, so filmmaking, producing, screenwriting, cinematography, that's where you have to submit a creative portfolio. The creative portfolio can be many different things. Obviously, if you have made a film, we would love to see the film that you have made. If it is in a different language, that's fine. We just need to have subtitles put into it. But if you haven't made a film because you maybe haven't had time or the equipment or the crew for any reason, you can really show us all of your creativity in multiple ways. So scripts, drawings, storyboards, photographs, short stories, poems. We had one student who was a furniture designer and he took pictures of the furniture.
Oh, wow.
So it really can be a great many things. And once you have applied to New York Film Academy, we work very closely with You Study and the student to be able to make sure that they understand exactly what they need to submit. For degree programs, you do have to have an English language test, whether that's TOEFL or IELTS or Duolingo. You will have to have letters of recommendation. You need to have a narrative statement, which is your statement of purpose. And then, of course, we do have to have proof of either high school or college graduation. But we work together very closely with the students. As I always say, as hands-on as we are with the students when they get there is how hands-on I like to be with the students so that they can make sure that they're comfortable. I've lived abroad. I've studied abroad. I know that it's very exciting, but I know that it's very terrifying, and parents especially have a lot of questions. So we always just want to be available and helpful, and we're right there beside you guys in order to.
Exactly. Awesome. So yeah, any student who's watching this at any point, whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording, if you would like to set up a time to meet with Lizzie or someone else from New York Film Academy, if you or your parents have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at ApplyWave and You Study, and we're happy to facilitate those meetings so we can all work together to essentially make your dreams come true and help you get to where you want to be. And now one more thing with financials, I know you guys offer different scholarship things.
We do.
Awards. Okay.
Yeah, so New York Film Academy, we don't offer full scholarships, but we do offer multiple types of awards and discounts. So the main awards will be your talent-based award, which is based off of your creative portfolio or your audition that I mentioned earlier. We do also offer a needs-based tuition assistance, which is based off of you and your family's need for financial help.
Okay.
And then for BFA programs, we do also offer a merit-based award, which is based off of high school GPA, extracurriculars and stuff. So while it's not a full scholarship, it can be potentially up to about 1/2 off of your tuition. So we understand that this world has turned upside down. So we want to be able to help financially as much as we can for any student. So really, there are multiple options out there for students in order to financially get some assistance to come and study with New York Film Academy.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, it's great that parents, even though, of course, it's not a full scholarship. You're not going to go study for free anywhere. I mean, it's very rare to find a program anywhere that is going to end up actually free. You still have to buy flights, typically, your housing, whatever it may be. But I think one thing that really stands out compared to some other schools is just the value that the student is getting out of what their tuition goes towards, just being able to use that state of the art equipment. I mean, that in itself, I'm sure, is worth a lot of money. And that's not something that you'll get at any university, in the States or elsewhere. It's rare to have that top of the line equipment to use. And then just, again, the hands-on aspect, the exposure and networking opportunities in the industry really make this a very, very valuable option, I think, for families.
And, you're looking at, there are similarly priced schools where you have, an hour or two of classes a day. With us, you have, 10 hours of classes a day. And it's fun class. It's not like sitting and writing and taking notes, but we're giving you the biggest bang for your buck that you can really receive.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, we don't have any questions in the comment section right now, but before I show our viewers how to find the New York Film Academy on ApplyWave, do you have any final thoughts for the students? Anything else you'd like to add?
I kind of already said it, but if there's ever a time where you've wanted to get into the entertainment industry, I think right now it's the best time, because people are understanding how important the arts really are right now. The
arts are what's keeping us sane right now.
So, it's people are finally realizing that this is something you can't live without, and it's not going anywhere. So if this is something you really want to do, obviously the world can turn upside down in a heartbeat. So, go for it right now. And we're happy to
follow your dreams.
Exactly. Follow your dreams.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lizzie, for joining us. Before I say goodbye, really quickly, I'm going to share my screen and show everyone how to find the New York Film Academy on ApplyWave. So again, students, as you are using ApplyWave, if you just start the process, if you just go in and look, rest assured, we are the humans behind the screen. So we are the ones who will be there helping you, in addition to my team, who's also around here. They're just not in the live stream right now, but we're here to help. So anybody who needs extra assistance or has a question, or maybe their parents want to sit down and talk to someone at the school, again, we are, both Lizzie and my team, we're here to help facilitate that. But quickly, I'm going to share my screen, like I said, and show you how to find the New York Film Academy on ApplyWave. So for the shorter term programs, the conservatory programs, just reach out to us and ask for more information, and we'll provide that. Here currently on ApplyWave, you'll be able to find information about the associate's, bachelor's, and master's degrees. So to search, just start by clicking on the study level that appeals to you. I think a lot of our viewers are interested in bachelor's degrees, so I'm just going to click there. And then where it says, where do you want to study? I'm going to just start typing in, New York. There we go. You can click. And you'll see more information about the different programs that are available. You'll see acting, photography, graphic design, animation, game design, film production, screenwriting, all of these different programs. You'll be able to see that here. If you want to view more information about a specific program or about New York Film Academy in general, just click and go into the school profile. You'll see everything there, the map, all that good stuff. And if you want to move forward with your application, just click apply. And like I said before, we are the humans behind the scenes who will help make sure everything is processed and that you have all the assistance you need. So again, thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Lizzie. It was so much fun talking to you today.
Nice to see you again.
Likewise. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.